So thanks everyone for joining us today. I think we'll do our official start now. My name is Lila LaHood. I'm the publisher of the San Francisco Public Press. Welcome to our webinar today. I'd like to introduce Daphne McNawa, who's our Director of Membership and Community. She's going to be leading this discussion today with Jaya and Abby, talking about their experience doing distance learning because of the pandemic. We're going to hear from them about their perspectives, what it's been like, what worked, what didn't, and the changes that they would like to see if we need to continue with these modifications to schooling in the future. Daphne, I'll let you take it away.
Okay, great, thanks. So thanks everyone for joining us. My name is Daphne, and today we're going to be talking with a couple of high school students about how life has changed during the COVID-19 pandemic. Just to give everybody a little bit more background, back in mid-March, if you remember, as health officials were finding more COVID-19 cases, the school district announced that for the safety of the students and staff at the schools, they were going to close the campuses until the end of, until after spring break. And so just in the few weeks, the teachers had to learn or had to be trained on how to conduct their classes from home and do virtual classes. And at the same time, the students also had to figure out how to attend online classes, and which is now what we all know as distance learning. So suddenly, kids had to stay home. They couldn't see their friends and family. They couldn't meet with their social groups, their clubs. They couldn't do sports, attend sporting events, and the structure of their school day was gone. And so I'm sure you're all wondering, so how has that been going? So we have two experts on today, Abigail Ault and Jaya Sweets, and they're two high schoolers in the school district, and we're going to ask them just that. So, hey, Abby and Jaya. Abby, could you go ahead and introduce yourself and just give us your, tell us what grade you're in and what school you're at?
Hi, my name is Abby. I'm a junior at Abraham Lincoln High School.
And Jaya?
Hi, everyone. I'm Jaya Sweets, and I'm a senior at Life Learning Academy.
Great, thanks so much. And I just wanted to remind everybody before we started our conversation that we'll be taking questions after our discussion. So if you just want to write something in the chat, Lila will be there to make sure that it all gets recorded and she passes them on to me. Okay, so why don't we start with distance learning? This is something that everyone's been hearing a lot about. Jaya, why don't we start with you and let us know, so how was that transition? So you come back from spring break and now you're actually going to school from home. Why don't you let us know what that was like?
Well, as a senior getting ready to graduate, going on to the next semester, it was kind of hard knowing that I can go back to school, see my actual friends, and learn in a classroom. And it kind of makes the process harder because at first the teachers will just assign a lot of classwork for no reason, more than they'll usually give us. So it's difficult transition trying to keeping track of all of those classes and all that classwork they were giving us, all the extra work. It was also hard because teachers wouldn't reach out and ask if you need help. So basically the process would just be looking like you're just doing the work and they just give it to you. They wouldn't actually help you in the beginning. So it was very hard for all of us.
So how was the would you turn assignments in the same way? Was that different? How they knew that you were completing your homework?
We will turn assignments in on Google Classrooms, and sometimes they'll tell us to do it on paper, and we'll take a picture and just upload it to them there.
So what would you say, was there anything that sort of surprised you about doing distance learning and having to do this from home, were there any classes that worked better this way? Or was it all just more challenging, like you were describing?
Well, some of my classes were already online, but my most challenging class would have to be my science class, because then we'll have to find ways to do science experiments from home to prove a theory and things like that.
Okay. So were you able to, were you doing those while you were doing your Zoom classes together, your experiments?
Sometimes it would depend. They'll either just put it, I'm sorry, some distracted. Sometimes they'll either just put it on YouTube and we'll watch the videos.
Okay.
And then that's mostly what we did.
Okay. So, hey, Abby, how about you? How was the transition for you?
Well, in the beginning, I kept thinking that we were going to go back to school the next day, and eventually realized probably not going back till next year. Since I am a junior, I had a bunch of big tests. Like I was supposed to take my first SAT, bunch of AP exams coming up, and we were all scared that all of the work that we put in to do those was gonna go down the drain. Our teachers were still getting used to the whole idea of online learning. They were assigning way too much for us. No one had the same motivation because they started saying that grades weren't going to be applied at all. Like we weren't going to get graded. It was just automatic pass. So that was terrible. Yeah,
So,
I think it was really
Daphne,
difficult.
I need to interrupt you. I
Sure.
need you to give me access to the chat to, I need higher access.
Okay, hold on. Okay. How about that? Is that helping? Okay. Okay, so Abby, how about, was there anything surprising in terms of being able, like, was there anything that was a surprise in terms of, oh, this is easier to be able to do distance learning and not have to go to school, maybe because your schedule wasn't as tight, or you didn't have to wake up as early, you know? What was there anything about it that actually did work for you?
Well, definitely my sleep schedule is a lot better now. I think I like the idea that I could do all of my homework at once, which I couldn't do during the school year, and it really stresses me out when multiple assignments pile up, but that's just me as a student.
Okay. So what would you say really was sort of the hardest thing about this transition? And really sort of, you had a couple of months to kind of your teachers were able to be more adjusted. Things were sort of being able to get ironed out more. Overall, what would you say would have been the hardest thing?
Not being able to vent to my friends, like in person. There's just something about doing it over text that doesn't really feel right. It was how I used to release stress when the assignments got too big. So that was the hardest.
Jaya, how about you? What was sort of overall, now that you have time to think about the last couple of months, what was the hardest thing?
I'll definitely have to agree on not seeing my friends. As not seeing anybody in general, it's that social interaction that's supposed to help us as humans, but we're not getting that. We're all from home. We're distant from everybody. So I'm a person that likes social connection, and if I don't have that, I'm kind of all over the place. So that's definitely been the hardest for me.
So I know you guys are staying connected somehow, even though you can't see each other, because I have a freshman daughter and I see how she stays connected. So how are you guys staying connected?
I'll go
Sorry,
first.
go ahead.
Me and my friends, we always FaceTime each other. So that's one way we stay connected, or even we'll meet up to like walk around our neighborhoods, but like still have a little distance from each other just so we have something going on and get some workout and some exercise.
How about you, Abby?
Well, before the whole quarantine, I was really connected to my friends through social media, like Instagram and just messages. Now that the quarantine started, we've been like scheduling Zoom sessions so we can play games online and see each other's reactions. So that's mostly how we've been trying to stay connected.
Well, when we first talked, Abby, you mentioned that you were in some groups or clubs. How are you guys meeting now?
Well, most of the clubs have just stopped working completely. They have stuff like Messenger, and we'll like post information through that, but it's none of us know what to do kind of thing. Because like for my marine animal activism club, what we used to do was go out into the world. We used to go whale watching, and now we can't do that, which was great.
How about you, Jaya? I know that you're also in some groups. How do you stay connected, or how do you meet, virtually meet?
We meet over Zoom. We'll schedule through emails of what we're doing, and then we just meet on Zoom and just make it happen.
Okay. So Abby, I know that you co-founded a mental health club at Lincoln. Why'd you do that?
I did it because a lot of people who I hold very dear to me, they were really struggling. They're all stuck at home with like their triggers right now, and there's no coping strategies. No one knew how to use those before quarantine started. So they're all really struggling and depressed. So I thought it might be good to start a mental health awareness club. So when we get back, we're prepared.
Are you able to meet now virtually or talk?
So far, we've just been communicating through text messages, sort of figuring out the logistics of the club, how we're going to help people, what projects we want to do, but we haven't really done any face-to-face yet.
So I think a lot of our audience that's out there now would be interested in hearing, were you able to find ways to cope, and you know how were you able to exchange ideas on that, and what did you find things that were really helpful?
Yeah, so well, number one, I'm a runner, so I had that coping strategy before. That was really great, and we've been sharing our like different exercising ideas just to sort of get out there and move. And then other kids had ideas where we journal our feelings. One of my favorites was where we write down everything that we don't like right now, and then we rip up that paper or burn it. So then we can just get rid of it forever. Yeah, just Zooming with your friends was the main one though, trying to stay connected, because you really got to put an extra effort in if you're not seeing them at school every day.
Yeah. How about you, Jaya?
Well, for me, how I cope, I like to bake and I like to cook. So I started my own little sweets business, and I started making funnel cakes, deep fried Oreos, deep fried Twinkies, and all the carnival food things you can think of. So that's how I mostly deal with my stress. I like to cook because I know the way I cook, people are going to enjoy it. And by them seeing their faces enjoying it, I know I'm enjoying myself.
So that's amazing. What's the name of your baking business?
All right, so I'm on Instagram, and it's Jaya Sweets _.
Okay. Well, so how has that changed? That must have changed now that the shelter-in-place order is in place. How is it working with your customers, and how do you sell your goods and deliver it to them?
Well, I'll deliver it with my mom. We'll drop it off to their house, or they'll just come over to my house and they pick it up.
Okay, great. So Jaya, I know that you're a senior, and a lot of seniors are thinking about graduation. Did you already have your graduation ceremony?
No, my graduation is on June 3rd.
Can you tell us a little bit about how that's going to work with social distancing?
All right, so with my graduating class, there's going to be 2 separate days of the seniors graduating. And basically, we're going to go to our school, and then we're going to all sit in our cars. And the only time we get out of our cars is to go get our diplomas. And we have to come out with our mask on. And we can't even celebrate. Once we get our diplomas, we can't honk the horns. We can't scream or shout. We literally have to stay, take our picture, and get right back in the car because we don't want to disrupt the neighborhood. Or at least my school don't, because I would celebrate. It's my senior year. I want to have fun.
Are you thinking of other ways to celebrate, maybe that same day? I'm sure, there are other students that might be thinking about this as well, other seniors that might be thinking about this as well. And I was just wondering if you had ideas about that.
Excuse me, repeat the question?
I was just wondering if maybe you had other ideas of, I guess, what do you think of how the graduation ceremony has to play out?
I feel like it should play out with everybody being in their cars, but then we should have windows rolled down. People can be outside of their, not outside of the car, but they can be sitting on the window. And then we have like a drive-through graduation. So I'm in San Francisco, so I was thinking about AT&T Park or like Candlestick that has a big parking lot. And everybody just drives around, and then you collect your diploma, and you can also celebrate at the same time while keeping social distance.
Wow, okay. Yeah, so all you principals out there, take note. That's a great idea. I was thinking, so I guess, I know that this is really important to you. Are there is there anything else that you want to talk about just in terms of how you are supporting your friends and how your friends are supporting you and how you're staying connected with your networks of friends and other students even?
Well, at first it was really hard because there will be days where me and my friends, we don't even show up for class. We just want to give up because it was the point, just like, what's the point? We're assigning all this work and we're not in school no more. And it's our senior year. It's not playing out how we want to. So it was definitely some weeks that went by where I wasn't in class or I wasn't doing none of the work. But we had to help remind each other that even though we're going through this, we still need to go out with the bang and we need to end it off good. So we got all back on our stuff and we end up graduating.
How about you, Abby?
I've always felt really guilty when I don't do a homework assignment. That kind of kept me going, but definitely towards like this last week when like grades were officially like you either pass or you fail, and if you're passing in March, you're passing. So I started to think I'm not going to need any of this, and there's no point in doing it. And what my friends did was like I told them this. It's like they were asking me why I wasn't showing up to classes, and I told them this, and they all decided that we should have a homework session where we split up the work and just did it all together rather than separate, and that kind of helped. Plus there's the fact that we have next year, which is also motivation. Have to deal with it more.
Yeah, well, that's actually a good segue into where we want to go now. Looking ahead, what is the new reality of campus life? So I guess one of the questions that I had was, knowing what you know now, do you think that events like graduation, like Jaya was talking about, prom, your friends' performances, and larger group meetings, do you think that for next year they should start up again?
That's a tough question. I guess I couldn't really see going to school without those events. I know there's like a bunch of spirit rallies that of course no one in my grade goes to anyways, but there's definitely assemblies like Brotherhood Sisterhood Assembly. Those are really important that we all get to go to, but I don't see how we're all gonna do it with social distancing. Maybe half the school goes and the other half doesn't go, like 2 days kind of thing. But I think they could be able to figure it out. Stuff like prom probably won't happen because that involves getting close to other people to dance.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's gonna be interesting.
What about you, Lajaya? What do you think about holding these larger events that really are been important to high schoolers?
I feel like that prom still should happen, but it should be in a different way. Like there kind of be two different proms, because there's still ways to have a big open area and people to be inside, but still keep a safe distance from each other. Because I feel like prom is really important. Nobody should miss out on those events. And I'm hoping, I swear, I keep on hoping that this whole thing will blow over next year. So that's one hope that I'm just keeping alive. But we should still be able to have these events. We shouldn't just stop the whole world because this whole thing is happening.
So before we start taking questions from people in the audience, let's say you were talking to your principal and your teachers right now. What would you want them to know? What would you want them to know about your distance learning experience? And what are the things that they should consider going forward? How can they support you? How can they support your families more? Because I'm sure they've learned a lot as well. Abby, why don't we start with you?
Let me think. So, number one, 30-minute classes once a week is not enough for me. During those 30 minutes, there were a few classes that did work. I think with math, the questions, we mostly used our textbooks outside of class, and the whole lecture part was more just like a Q&A session. But for my language class, for French, that wasn't working. We had no idea what was going on. She was just reading at us. So I think that's not going to work. I would prefer if teachers posted lectures advance, like ahead of time, like on YouTube or something, like what the College Board was doing for AP exams, because that would allow us our own, like, it would allow flexibility with our schedules. So we get to choose when we watch those lectures, and then just have the Zoom meetings as questions, because honestly, no one can learn certain subjects over Zoom. It's just, there's the multiple types of learning and it's not covering all of them. Like there's physical, I'm not getting any of that learning at all. That's how I learn.
Do you have any, so for your senior year, do you have any sort of big questions? Like what would you like to know? You know, this is sort of timely because the governor just put out some guidance for schools on what regulations they would need to follow to reopen. And, you know, what would you like to know? How will school work? Like, are there questions? What questions do you have around that? If you were to, again, you're still in a room with your teachers and your principal.
I guess I don't have many questions. I would like to know what's going to happen if someone at our school does end up getting it. Like, is it just going to go back to a complete shutdown, which might make more sense, or if we'll just keep going with the split schedule. Mostly my only question.
Okay. So Lajaya, same question to you. You're in your classroom with your teachers and your principal. What would you want them to consider for next year and in the future? I know that you're graduating, but I was just wondering what advice you'd want to give them.
Some advice I'll give, just because we're at home and we have the time to do all the work, do not sign all the work. Because adding on extra work that we don't even do in the classroom is just too much. Like, we all have different classes, and if I'm getting 10 assignments in almost every class, it doesn't motivate me to do it. So just don't assign so much work. Just pretend like it's a regular school day, the regular school hours, and the same time we're in the class. So just because we have the time to do it, we're not really gonna do it as students. Like, I know my peers, we're not gonna do all that work. Like, we're gonna do it because we want our grades to be up, but we're not gonna be motivated to. We're not gonna like school anymore.
So, Jaya, this is for you since you are graduating. How has the shelter in place changed what you're planning for your future?
I'm trying to think about my future now that I'm graduating, because I'm trying to see how would college work out. Would we be in class or something online? So it's been a hard process for me to really think about it, especially with the shelter in place still going on. So it's just my main questions that I'm just asking is like, how will my college life be?
I think we're ready for questions from the audience. We have a lot. So let's see, I'll just start taking them. So somebody would like to know what classes are you taking this year? So Jaya, why don't we start with you?
I'm taking economics. I'm taking history. I can't remember what type of history right now. I'm taking history. I'm taking STEM class, and that's it. I mostly did all of my other classes already. I just needed a few credits in some classes.
How about you, Abby? You're on mute.
Got that. I'm taking French 3, AP Calculus, Marine Biology, AP Language and Composition, just regular US History, and Biotechnology.
How do you feel about the current situation with the SATs? I'm not sure if this person was asking in relation to if the UCs are accepting them or not, but why don't you just tell me in general, Abby, how you're feeling about it?
I still feel obligated to take the SAT, even though they're not requiring it. I never really agreed with the whole idea of the SAT. It's just no one test can kind of determine how much potential you'll have in college. I do think that holistic admissions are better anyways, where they look at the person as a whole, like what extracurriculars they do, but I still feel obligated to take the test, and that's scary.
Another question here. I think this person's asking for right now, for this year, or maybe also next year. Can the students make videos and have the teachers respond to them? Would this be a better way to get individual feedback? And Jaya, I'm gonna throw this one to you. Would that have worked for you if you made videos and had the teachers respond to them?
Oh, sorry about that. I feel like videos would work, but it's also the communication with students between teachers that we still need to keep. So if we had that communication, I feel like it would have been much easier this year.
You mean real communication, meaning being in the classroom together?
Not just that, but like we can also do it like how we're talking to each other right now on Zoom. We could also be talking to our teachers like that. I feel like because we see our teachers as like they're a little bit higher, they're not gonna listen to us. But I feel like if they really understood like our situation, really had the time to sit down and actually listen to us, the whole process would have been a little better.
Do you feel like, the way you and I are talking on Zoom, it sounds like you wouldn't have been able to do that in a classroom. Can you tell me why? So could you tell me why you couldn't have the same conversation with your teacher on Zoom in class?
I feel like some teachers don't actually listen. Like they'll hear you talk, but then still do what they're gonna do because they're the teachers. They're assigned all the rules, regulations, all that. But then I feel like there are teachers who actually do listen to what the students are saying and actually change their ways. So it's more of like a listening thing. If they actually listen and do it, then it'll be easier.
Okay. Here's another question. What did you find especially motivating in terms of completing assignments during the distance learning days? Abby, what do you think?
I hate to say it, but grades. Grades are definitely like, they cause me stress, but they're also like, if you don't do this, you're going to get a bad grade, and then you'll have to like show that to your parents. So just the whole stress around grades, like it's negative, but it also really helped. Also the idea that I'm still learning stuff, I'm probably going to need it next year. So
Jaya, what did you find motivating to help you complete your assignments?
What I found motivating is the fact that I was almost done. So knowing that I was almost done with an assignment, it made me feel more better. I was like, okay, well, let me just finish this out. And then I also agree with Abby about the grades too, because you want a good grade. Like you want good grades. So those were my two things that helped motivated me.
So Lila was just telling me that some of the people that have come on late would like to know what grade you're in and what high school you're in.
Are we starting with me?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm a senior at Lifeline Academy.
I'm a junior at Abraham Lincoln High School.
Oh, this is a good question. Did you both, I'll start with you, Abby. Did you share with your teachers that their approach to teaching during the quarantine wasn't effective?
Can you repeat that?
Or I guess I would say the parts that you didn't find effective.
There are certain teachers that I feel comfortable with telling them like what's really not working, because like everyone else in the class is complaining and I'm hearing all of it, and I feel comfortable telling them directly. There was maybe 2 teachers that scare me enough that I don't want to tell them. So instead I just rant about it to my friends and hope like one of them says it. But yeah, I think I've only told 3 teachers directly. I know they're all struggling too, so I try to be sympathetic.
Did you share their response?
Majority of the teachers, they're really open to getting feedback. There was a few that had no idea what I was talking about, and I don't know what to do with them. But yeah, they've all been pretty open to taking feedback, because this is all just so new. Which is great. I feel very lucky.
How about you, Jaya? Were you able to give feedback to your teachers?
I gave feedback to my teachers who asked for any feedback, but other than that, I didn't really give any feedback.
Did they, in the feedback, did they respond, or, do you feel like you were heard?
I feel like I were heard, because the teachers that were actually responding to my feedback, they actually did make it a little easier for me, which I liked a lot.
Okay. Let's see here. If next year we don't go back, or you don't go back to school, like to physically be on campus at the beginning of the year, what topics do you think would benefit students, and what should you be learning about at that time if there's no distance learning? Abby, what do you think? You're on mute.
I keep realizing that. It keeps cutting out. I only heard half of your question.
Oh, so it sounds like it's another student asking, but if next year you don't go back to school, if you're not actually physically on campus at the start of the year, what topics do you think would be good ones to be learning during that time when you're not on campus?
Like what subjects or just,
Yeah,
oh, okay. I'm not sure if I know how to answer that. If I wasn't to let you.
That's okay. Jaya, do you have ideas on that?
I feel like the subjects that we're already learning, that is kind of like a hard question to interpret, but I feel like we can still have our history classes. Like that'll still be a topic to learn because we can learn about the histories of all the other pandemics that happened compared to now and what happened. Like I feel like that's a good thing to find out.
So Jaya, stay on for a second. Everyone wants to know how they can learn more about Jaya Sweets. And what's your Instagram handle again?
Okay, so my Instagram handle is, I'm gonna spell it out for everybody. So it's JayaSweets_. So it's Jaya Sweets on Instagram.
So Lila, I don't know if you got that and if you could put that in the chat too. Okay.
One more time. I'm going to have her spell it one more time, and I'm going to type it right in.
All right, so it's JayaSweets. I think somebody just put it in the comments too. And then there's no underscore at the end. So to contact me, you can DM me and then we can figure out your orders from there. But please DM me a day before because, yeah, I need time to process everybody's orders.
Okay. Is it something, so someone asked, just ask you one more question on this. For other entrepreneurs at your age, looking to start a business, I guess, did you start this before the pandemic?
I started during.
Oh, wow, okay. So this person would like to know if there's any advice you can give them on how to start a business during uncertain times, during a pandemic.
I would say if you have a support system that's going to help you, and also if you have a craft that you're good at, then make a business out of it. Like I like cooking and I'm good at it. So if you like doing something and you enjoy doing it, then just do it. Just set it out there.
Okay. So what, I guess, if you were to go to class, start school again, and even you to Jaya in college, and the policy was, yeah, you're going to be on campus, would you feel safe?
Probably not. My school's not really made for social distancing. I know that I would bump into people constantly because that's what happens during normal school hours. Even if they split the class in two, I still feel like I'd bump into people, but that might just be my own issue. But I probably wouldn't feel safe. When the first case was said to be at Lowell, I panicked because I swim at the same place as Lowell. And it just felt like it was going to spread through all of school. And that's probably going to happen again.
How about you, Jaya? Would you feel safe?
To say I'm going to college and the college I'm going to is kind of big. So I feel like I can be safe, but then I should still be aware of my surroundings and still wear a mask even when I'm out.
Okay, we have a lot of questions. Are there any, okay, I'm sorry. Are there any, so this actually touches a little bit, Lajay, on what you were saying in terms of topics or subjects that you could learn if you had to go back to school, learn more about pandemics and, you know, public health crises. Are there other life skills that you would like to develop that schools could help you with that you think would help you through times like this?
I think there's more so classes that we should learn that's going to help us in our future. So I feel like we should have classes that teaches you how to do your taxes, because it's good to learn that at a young age. Like, we need those skills. We should learn about financial literacy. I feel like that should be a class that we should have. I have that at my school, so I'm grateful for that. But I know a lot of my friends in other schools don't have that, so that should definitely be a class that's recommended for everybody to take.
For adults too.
Yeah.
How about you, Abby?
That really hit me with the tax one. In 5th grade, I believe, my teacher tried to teach us, but like we were way too young then. If they had that class in high school, it would be amazing. Otherwise, other subjects that they would teach, like I'm pretty sure everyone knows how to wash their hands and social distance. It might be good to know more about the virus, but you never really know what's like the right amount of information there. So it'd be difficult for the teachers to make a curriculum anyways.
So I think, and Lila, you can let me know, I was gonna go, our last question, I was gonna take our last question. No. Okay. So Abby, what do you think will be the main memory that you'll have from this school year?
Oh, probably running through the city. Like it's not exactly class related, but running through the city and seeing no one. That was definitely the biggest thing because I normally like being alone, but like that felt scary alone, like a ghost town. And that was definitely the biggest one.
How about you, Lajaya?
We're talking about our favorite memories? Or which memories are we talking about?
Oh, just any, what will be your main memory from this school year? It doesn't have to be school related.
Okay, my main memory, I feel like coming outside and not seeing any traffic on the freeways or the bridge, like that was incredible. I never thought I'd see anything like that.
Yeah. So you know, before we close, is there anything else that you'd like to let everybody out there know? We've got, you know, quite a few people that are watching. Is there anything else you'd like people to know?
I got one. Just if there are like any parents out there, I would just like to say on behalf of all teenagers, phones are technically a coping strategy. It is a distraction, but it is an effective distraction. We distract ourselves until we're ready to deal with the issue in front of us. So it's not exactly negative, and do not force them to get off their phone because that is their only connection to their friends right now. So that's it.
All right. Lajaya, how about you?
I definitely agree with Abby on that one. But also, if you have a family, if you're not living by yourself and you're living with other people, then definitely spend time with your family. Like, we should have movie nights, y'all should have family cook-offs, like do stuff that's gonna still seem fun even though we're in the house. So enjoy these precious moments that we have.
Is a great way to close out. I want to thank you guys so much. This was, you know, I think we've just kicked off our teen series for the public press webinars. Good luck next year, Abby. And congratulations, LaJaya, on your graduation. Good luck with your with what you do next year. Please stay in touch with us. And thanks everybody for joining us.
Thank you, Daphne. Thank you, LaJaya. Thank you, Abby. Thank you, everyone. This was really great. This was a fabulous conversation, and I believe we're going to be turning it into a civic episode. So we'll send out the link to the podcast, and all of today's guests and attendees will receive a link to that in the very near future.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye.